the x and the y axis. These axes are used to recognize a point on one plane. One single plane. This plane is called the Cartesian plane. As we can see, the Cartesian plane is divided into 4 parts or regions. This one, this one, this one, and this one. Each of them is called a quadrant. The quadrants are named in a particular order which we have to strictly follow. This region is the first quadrant. In the first quadrant, as we can see, the x as well as the y coordinates are positive. Moving in the anti-clockwise direction, we name this quadrant the second quadrant. In this quadrant, the x coordinates are negative while the y coordinates are positive. So remember, for the first 2 quadrants, the y coordinates are positive. Moving in the anti-clockwise direction, this is the third quadrant where the x as well as the y values are negative. This region is the fourth quadrant. The x coordinates are positive and the y coordinates are negative. Does that mean that every point on the plane will lie in any one of the quadrants? Let's mark a few points on the plane and see which quadrants they lie in. Let's assume I mark point A here. This point lies in the second quadrant. So we write A, 2 here. Point A lies in the second quadrant. Let's assume I mark point B here. This point is in the first quadrant. We write B first here. Point C is marked here as it lies in the third quadrant. We write C 3. And this is point D. It is in the fourth quadrant. Now let's look at something interesting. What about this point E? Which quadrant does it lie in? First quadrant or the second one? We say that point E lies on the y-axis. What about point F here? Yes, point F lies on the x-axis. What does this tell us? It means that each point on a plane lies either on one of the axes or in one of the quadrants. The x-axis and name it x-x. We draw the y-axis and name it y-y. How do we number the axis? Until now, we have only seen cases where we have numbered this side of the x-axis and this side of the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on the x-axis and 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on the y-axis. The reference point or the origin is 0. On the left-hand side of the horizontal axis, just like the number line, we mark negative natural numbers -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. Similarly, on this side of the y-axis, we mark -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. Remember, all these are marked in equal intervals. Now let's take a random point somewhere on the plane and try to give it an identity. Say we have a point P here. It is 3 units away from the origin on the horizontal axis and 2 units away on the vertical axis. How do we denote the point then? We write it as 3, 2 inside round brackets. That's the identity of point P. But in mathematics, we do not refer to it as an identity. We call these the coordinates of point P. 3 is the x coordinate and 2 is the y coordinate. Here's something you really need to know. This is not the same as 2, 3. 2, 3 will be this point here. 2 units away on the x-axis and 3 units away on the y-axis. The order matters. Hence they are called an ordered pair. The value on the x-axis is always written first and then we write the corresponding value on the y-axis. This entire system is called the Cartesian coordinate system. We will soon learn more about it. distance between 2 points. Let this be our number line, where we have numbers from -1 to 6. And these are 2 points on the number line. What is the distance between point A and B? One way in which we can figure out the distance is by counting the number of units in between A and B. There are 4 units: 1, 2, 3, and 4. It means that the distance between A and B is 4 units. But this method is tedious if there are many units in between, which tells us that we have to look for an easier way to find the distance. How do we find the distance between points A and B here? Look at the numbers under points A and B. It's 1 and 5. The distance between points A and B equals absolute value of 5 minus 1, which equals 4. There are a few things we learnt here. First, the distance between A and B is written like this: D and then AB in brackets. The distance is the absolute value of the difference between the endpoints of segment AB. Here the endpoints are 5 and 1. Remember, it's the absolute value of the difference, so it can also be written as absolute value of 1 minus 5. The absolute value ignores the sign of the number. So even absolute value of 1 minus 5 will equal 4. But it is always a good practice to subtract the smaller number from the larger number. We should also know that the distance between points A and B is the same as length of segment AB. So length of segment AB in this example is 4 units. Here's another example. This time we have to find the distance between points C and D. The first thing you should do is look at the endpoints of the segment. The endpoints of the segments are 2 and -2. So the distance between the points C and D will be absolute value of 2 minus -2. 2 minus -2 is 4, and absolute value of 4 is 4. The length of segment CD is 4 units. In the next video, we will understand this better with the help of coordinate axis. Saw how we could find the length of a line which was neither parallel to the x-axis nor parallel to the y-axis. But the procedure to find the length was a bit lengthy. To avoid repeating the same procedure again, we can generalize the formula to find the length of such a line. Let one of the endpoints be A, x1, y1, and B, x2, y2. To get the length of AB, we need to form a triangle in which AB is the hypotenuse. So we drop a perpendicular to the x-axis and then draw another perpendicular to BC. So the coordinates of point D would be x2, y1. x2 will be here on the x-axis and y1 will be here on the y-axis. Now we find the lengths of AD and BD and then use Pythagoras theorem to find the length of AB. Since BD is parallel to the y-axis, it will equal the absolute value of y2 minus y1. And since AD is parallel to the x-axis, it will equal absolute value of x2 minus x1. Using the Pythagoras theorem in this triangle, we get AB squared equals AD squared plus BD squared. Substituting these values, the expression will equal x2 minus x1 the whole squared plus y2 minus y1 the whole squared. So length of AB will be the square root of the addition of these two. Now the formula has been generalized. All we need to know is the coordinates of the two endpoints and we can just feed it into this formula. Notice that x1 and y1 are coordinates of point A and x2 and y2 are coordinates of point B. This, by the way, is called the distance formula. Let's zoom out to understand a special case of the distance formula. If we have a line like this, which starts from the origin, then the formula gets simpler. Let the coordinates of point A be x, y. The coordinates of the origin are 0, 0. In this case, x2, y2 are x, y, and x1, y1 are 0, 0. So using the distance formula, we get the length of OA as the square root of x minus 0 the whole squared plus y minus 0 the whole squared. That would equal square root of x squared plus y squared. If the line segment starts from the origin, its length will be the square root of x squared plus y squared, where x and y are the coordinates of the other endpoint. The line segment AB and a point P somewhere in between the endpoints. Here, point P is slightly closer to A. Doesn't matter where it lies on the segment, a point will always divide a segment into two parts. In this case, the point P divides the segment AB into two parts, AP and PB. This is called the internal division of a line segment. The point P divides the segment AB internally into two parts. Can a point divide a line externally from outside? Sounds weird, but yes, it can. We see that in another video. Let me redraw the same diagram, but this time we look at a few more details. Let us assume that the point P divides the segment AB in the ratio m:n. If this segment is drawn on a graph paper, all points will have some coordinates. Let's assume that point A has coordinates x1, y1. x1 is the x coordinate and y1 is the y coordinate. And assume point B has coordinates x2, y2. What we would be really interested in is the coordinates of point P given the coordinates of these 2 points. Let the coordinates of point P be x, y. We have the coordinates of points A and B, and we have the ratio in which the point P divides the line segment AB. We have to find x, y using all the information we have. So this is how the internal division formula goes. Looks really complicated at first, but in actual fact is very simple. The x coordinate of point P equals m multiplied by x2, which is the x coordinate of point B, plus n multiplied by x1, the x coordinate of point A. And we divide this entire thing by the sum of m and n. What we just found out is the x coordinate of point P. It is this multiplied by the x coordinate of this point plus this multiplied by the x coordinate of this point divided by the sum of m and n. Similarly, the y coordinate will equal m multiplied by y2, the y coordinate of this point, plus n multiplied by y1, the y coordinate of this point. And just as we did for the x coordinate, we divide the whole thing by the sum of m and n. We go cross out here, this multiplied by this plus this multiplied by this divided by the sum of m and n. This is called the section formula for internal division. If you're too bored to remember the formula, don't worry, you can just derive it. The derivation is quite simple, I would say, and we cover it next. The section formula helps us find the coordinates of a point on a line, provided we are given this ratio and the coordinates of the endpoints.